This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Monday, October 27th, 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, we will hear comments from Senator Chuck Grassley as he talks about the situation with Argentina and potentially importing more beef out of the country. And we'll also be joined by Sam Trainor of agmarket.net for our closing market discussion. Here is Senator Grassley's comments from last week, his opening comments of his weekly ag conference call.
President Trump has raised concerns about the cost of beef and the prices American consumers are paying for that beef. The biggest factor driving these prices is economics 101, pretty clear supply and demand. America's cattle supply, as all of you guys know, is the lowest level since the 1950s. This has been caused by drought in recent years and by increased costs for beef producers. Many of these producers decided because of these situations to sell cows instead of keeping them to put more beef into the market. However, even with the tight supply, the public's demand for delicious protein-rich beef remains the same or higher, and that obviously has driven up prices. Cattle men and cattle women are doing what they can to meet the demand, but as you know, building up a herd takes a long time. So I commend President Trump's plan to strengthen the American beef industry, which he announced this week through the Secretary of Agriculture. The plan increases grazing access, cuts inspection costs, expand processing so that the big four producers controlling 85% of the market can't drive up prices. And in the end, this boosts long-term demand. Now, you may have heard the president pressing for more beef imports from our competitors. Obviously, I disagree with him on that because this would damage the incentives for U.S. cattlemen to raise more beef. And in the words of the president, repeating what you hear him say so often, the message to the president is pretty simple. Undercutting American beef is not putting America first. And I don't argue with the president's American first agenda, but you can't undercut beef and consider that being America first.
It is time now for our closing market discussion. I will be joined by Sam Trainor of agmarket.net next. But first, a word from the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Joined now by Sam Trainor of agmarket.net for our closing market discussion here on Ag Matters PM. Sam, how did we trade in the grains here today after some big news over the weekend?
You just said it. We had a lot of big news over the weekend, and the fireworks were definitely here to play here today in the markets here. Obviously, soybeans sharply higher today, made new calendar year highs. The news out of the weekend was that the talks between Trade Secretary Scott Bessent and top Chinese officials in Malaysia over the weekend went well. He announced that there is a framework around a trade agreement with China, and that should be finalized here this weekend, later this week when President Trump and President Xi Jinping meet in South Korea. That meeting is set to go Wednesday into Thursday here. So should have more concrete evidence here later this week. But as of right now, everything's on board here, going higher to start the week.
And that's the key phrase, isn't it, Sam, as of right now, because we've seen in the past a framework for a deal with China, or, sometimes it has been China. If they are putting together a deal, it doesn't always follow through. And so we have to actually see if that does come to fruition. But right now, at least this is a headline grab where the news is positive. That's going to move the market up.
That's absolutely right. And I'm glad you bring up that point because, this is not the first time we've seen this. The old classic phrase, buy the rumor, sell the fact. It might be an old phrase, but it's been very true for this soybean market for quite some time now. And I just want to encourage all the listeners and viewers here that if you're looking at anything, especially on social media, be sure to take a look at the timestamps on when things are posted, because there was an account that shared a post from President Trump that was dated back on June 11th, saying that our deal with China is done and we are just waiting final approval. That got a lot of traction over the weekend, but I just want to remind everybody that there is no deal that is done yet. We have framework around a deal, and everything is pointing in the right direction. Things are looking positive, better than they have in some time, but still nothing done yet. So just be careful what you see out there, because there's a lot of information, and unfortunately, we're not getting any information from the government due to the shutdown. So we just have to rely on what social media tells us.
Well, it's a tale of two different stories today. Let's talk about the livestock side of the markets, where the price has gone the opposite direction.
Oh boy, it was ugly. Obviously, we closed limit down on Friday, and so today we were given expanded limits. The daily limits on feeder cattle is $9.25. So with that expanded today, it was $13.75, and we went right ahead down and tested that limit again today. So we will be trading once again with expanded limits tomorrow. This feeder cattle market has just been on a downward spiral here the last 4 days. We've lost over $30 in that market. But I will remind everybody here that the fundamental news still has not changed. We don't have we still have to replenish the herd and rebuild the herd here. Cattle numbers are still tight. We were scheduled to have received a cattle on feed report on Friday. Obviously, with the government shutdown, did not get that report. But it takes more than just a couple different law changes here or there to rebuild a herd. This is a long, drawn out process. It's not something that can happen overnight. So just want to caution guys on that sort of thing here. But this market's definitely in the defensive mode. It's no secret that the commodity funds and managed money have been long for quite some time, and I think this has finally spooked them, and they are getting out as fast as they can here, as we've seen in the last few days, where this market's just tested limits twice in a row now.
And Sam, do I have it right that it's not just the Argentina story about importing more beef from Argentina? It's also the story about improved trade talks with Brazil, and then also the United States discussing with Mexican officials what's going to happen next with the border between the United States and Mexico. Do I have that right?
You do. And I think that last thing that you brought up is probably the most important. As I said, the Argentina imports and the trade negotiations with Brazil, that's all fine and dandy, but it's going to take a long time for that to come into place and really affect the supply and demand of our market. However, the border situation between Mexico and the United States being closed, if that were to get opened up, that is definitely something that could have a much quicker impact on these markets. So that's the headline that I'm most paying attention to right now. But yes, what you said there is all factual.
Sam, what's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information after a day like today, where there's a lot of different information to take in?
Absolutely, Mark. Best way would be to visit our website at agmarket.net, or you could give us a phone call at 1-800-779-1515.
He is Sam Trainor with agmarket.net, my guest here today. Sam, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Hey, no problem. Thank you, Mark.
That was Sam Trainor of agmarket.net joining us for the closing market discussion. Let's take a look at the closing numbers. You can find that information anytime under the Markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
December corn closes up 5.5 at 428 3/4. November soybeans up 25.5 at 1067 1/4. December soybean meal up 410 at 298.20. December soybean oil up 50 cents at 50.77. Chicago wheat up 13.5 at 526. Minneapolis wheat is up 3 cents at 560. Kansas City hard red wheat up 12 3/4 at 514 1/4. December oats down 12 cents at 297. On the Merc, December live cattle down 6.75 at 227.18. November feeder cattle closes down 13.75 at 338.45. December lean hogs down 40 cents at 81.50. December pork cutout unchanged at 94 even. Class 3 milk is unchanged at 17.85.
That wraps up the closing markets for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can follow us on social media at Facebook and X, and you can listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as our daily episodes of our Iowa Ag Matters podcast at Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, you've been watching Ag Matters PM.